Hello, my name is Crystal Schneider and I teach anatomy at Goddard High School, and this is my Google Classroom. I teach anatomy and this is my second year to try and use Google Classroom. I've tried some things in the past and there's some things that I really like and some things that are kind of frustrating. Some of my favorite things that I've liked in my Google Classroom projects that my students have done are muscle study tools. We learn a little over 100 muscles in the human body, and students have to help create muscles and study tools in order for their classmates to learn the muscles. Here is their final project, what they came up with at the end. Each group was assigned a section of muscles, and the group had to find certain things in order to teach about those muscles. And then once they completed and found or created the things they needed, they inserted their link to their document or to their PowerPoint or slideshow or however they created it. They included a link in here, so I can click on their link and we can take a look at and see about the muscles of the back and dorsum. And the students had access to this. They could study it from home. So when they needed some time to be able to study at home, they could come here and look at different things. They had to incorporate videos that they found and have some descriptions of what those videos are. They had to incorporate diagrams of the muscles of the group that they would be learning. And then they had to incorporate some games that their classmates could play. So there are some different kinds of games that can be played. Some were on there, and some were games that students made, and some were games that students found, so they could study those different muscle groups. Clicking back. Another class interactive study tool that my students made this year was when we were learning about tissues and learning about the different tissues of the body. Students or small groups were assigned a different tissue, and each tissue was given a slide in the class slideshow. I gave them a template slide that they could use, and they were supposed to copy the template slide and input their information for each of the slides, each of the tissues that are in the human body. So here are all of the tissues in the human body. Here is a template slide that tells them where everything goes and what they need to put on their individual slides. And then students were to add information about each of the types of tissues that we studied. Another thing I commonly do with my anatomy students is divide topics, and they have to sign up for different topics. So if I have an assignment or a post that I put out and they're going to sign up for topics, I have a student sign up sheet. And so students can open up the sign up sheet, and then they can either pick from a list of topics that I provide in the sign up sheet and they type their name next to it, or they have to come up with their own topic and I have to approve that topic. So at the beginning of the year, students were doing a project dealing with diseases, and they had to pick a disease within a certain system of the body and sign up next to that system and put what type of ailment they were going to research. And I could leave notes and ask them questions in the column that says teacher approval. I could leave them questions so they knew I understood or did not understand what they were trying to sign up for. A problem that I've run across with all of these shared class projects where everyone incorporates or types in or puts in a slide is that there's no way to assign it as a homework or classwork. So I have to put those in as a an announcement inside the class, and each student has to be able to get in there in order to access it. I've tried assigning things through classwork in the past, but there's no way that other students in the class can see what those students are creating or making or adding. So I have to do those things as an announcement in the class. So underneath my Classworks tab at the top, these are the different topics and headings that I have underneath of here. And like I was just discussing, how whenever I do group projects or I want them to be able to see each other's published work or they're sharing access to something, I cannot put it in as an assignment, so it looks like they have not had any projects assigned. It looks like they have not completed any labs, but all of the labs that we have done thus to this point have been group created items where students have worked together in some capacity. And one thing that I tried with our last guest speaker and field trip adventure that we journeyed on was using a forum question, and students had to create their own question that they wanted to ask either the presenter on our field trip or the guest speaker that came to our classroom, and they could not use anybody else's questions that had already been posted. So they were able to come up with some pretty good questions to keep a lively conversation going with our guest or at the zoo when we were there. So thank you for joining me on a tour of my live anatomy Google Classroom.